Hello, this is Mike with BlackHawk Paramotor USA, and we're kind of starting a little bit of a video series, Mike and Mike, or Coffee with Mike and Mike at BlackHawk. This is Mike Gamble, by the way.
Howdy.
Today's video, we're going to talk about why we manufacture things a certain way. What goes into the development, the design, the R&D of a BlackHawk Paramotor, and why it's different than many of the others on the market. Now, we're going to talk about our product, not about theirs. We're not going to specifically name any names or anything like that. That's not what this is all about. It's about why we do things the way we do them.
Yep. A lot of the big thing now is light. Everybody wants to be so light. And big problem with that is you sacrifice the integrity of the frame and stuff. I mean, at some point you get too light, which is something that we've addressed before here. You know, if you are a beginner and you go out and you butt land it for the first time, and then all of a sudden you're replacing, you know, $1,000 worth of stuff for one mistake, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the other thing is beginners have a tendency to lean over too far, which puts pressure on the cage, or allow their gliders to get off to the side, and that puts pressure on their cage, and pulling your cage into the prop, your training session's over with. Reality, we're flying Super Cubs. We're not flying F-16s here.
Exactly. If you want to go fast, buy an airplane. It's all about low and slow and having fun, enjoying the scenery and all that. There's going to be the handful of people that want to go fast, and that's great. You know, go ahead and push it, but that's not what we're really all about. We're about going out and seeing places and having fun. And having something that isn't going to break right off the bat when you go to do a power forward and no wind.
I remember the days when I was a beginner, and I would reminisce at night over that, finally having a sweet landing or takeoff, you know, and how cool that really was, or finding an area that I could let off the gas and fly low through the trees. I thought I was so cool, you know, and that's really what this is all about.
So you know, there's a lot of things that go with it. I mean, we had some issues with some of our earlier Kestrel cages, and we just, as things evolve, you know, we evolve, and we have corrected so many things now. Geometry-wise, the thrust line, you know, how important it is to have that thrust line where it's not pitching you over the top, and putting, especially on a low hang point machine, where all of a sudden you've got that cage right up against the risers and the lines. It's not good. So just changing the geometry as a whole, and then also making that cage so it just doesn't flex.
Right.
You know, which allows you to run a bigger prop safely, not having to worry about that thing pulling back, and, you know, the time that you do mess up, because even as good as you think you are, you're still going to screw it up sometimes. It's just how it is. That
you do. And you just brought up a good point, is the thrust line. I mean, we've noticed so many manufacturers' machines where the thrust line is just wrong. So let's explain the thrust line to those that are watching the video. If the motor position, the center of the prop, is higher than the hook and point of the glider, it's going to have a tendency to tilt your machine forward. So if you're going this direction, to my right or your left, and the thrust line is too high, it's going to tilt the top of that cage into the glider lines. We have seen several actually touch the lines, and in fact, a fella that let go of his toggles hit the prop, and 3 times. And we were all just horrified in our boots. I mean, it could have been over right then and there. Thrust line is important. The other thing is that when you get out of the seat, as your students are, and sometimes they're hanging in the seat for a while, that's going to tilt that cage forward in itself. So the thrust line really needs to be in a proper position, such as the Kestrel V3. That motor, you can add all the gas you want, and it's barely going to move.
It'll get you upright, but that's it at full power.
It still enables you to get out of the seat, do your foot drags, come in and land without stretching your legs out to touch down. When you take off with the Kestrel V3, your feet aren't getting scooped out from under you because you're leaning too far back. Because that's exactly how some of these manufacturers have their people flying. They realize that the thrust line, when they add gas, isn't right. So to correct it, they're having them pitched way back. and that's not right either, because your feet are way out in front of you and you're having to stretch in order to land, or as I mentioned earlier, your feet are getting scooped up.
Yeah.
So the thrust line, a lot of testing goes into that.
Yeah. Nope, I've spent many hours and days on the field literally drilling holes and moving things. And, you know, we went through several prototypes. We had to increase the height of the main frame in order to make everything work, which add a little bit of weight stuff, but I mean, at least it's right. And it's very comfortable to fly, extremely comfortable to fly.
Yeah, I love it. And we had to build a whole new harness.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's the right thing to do.
Yeah, and to definitely make changes in the harness to get around a lot of it.
Now that I think about it, we made a lot of changes to the harness, sewing, cutting, sewing again. That kind of surprised me. But the harness and the cage or the frame itself, relative to that thrust line, have got to all be balanced and work with each other.
Yeah. Yep. And as time goes on, I mean, we're still constantly in that. You know, we get a complaint or we look at something and we go back to the drawing board and, okay, well, what can we do to get this one right? You know,
after we validate the complaint.
Yeah.
Sometimes people don't know how to adjust their harness properly. But the one thing great about the new harness is you don't have to worry about getting in the seat.
No.
And that's one thing I'll add is if you guys watch other pilots, why are they scrambling to get in the seat?
Yeah.
Why do they have to have both hands down there, or even one hand for that matter? Why are they snapping their toggles loose and then scrambling to get in the seat?
Yeah. Should be able to just lift your knees and you're in it.
Yeah. With our harness, you're already halfway in it. Just lift your knees slightly. You will slide all the way in. But it's not about how cool you are. How fast you get in the seat means nothing. Make it look good.
Yeah.
And then it is good. So don't scramble to get in the seat, especially if something were to happen at only 10 or 20 feet off the ground. You really kind of still want to be out of the seat. So make it look good.
Yeah, I agree.
The Kestrel V3 is the most rigid single hoop frame on the market.
I've felt all the other ones that I can get my hands on, and that's
it's not
solid.
Even close.
It's solid.
And being rigid is extremely important. And we can share with you how we made it rigid, but we're not.
Yeah. But the other thing that goes in with it too is, you know, the downside to rigid and everything is we added a little bit of weight. You know, that goes back to what I was saying a little bit ago. Sooner or later, there's got to be a balance and stuff. And so we've opted that we want the rigidity, we want the reliability, and we want it to take a few punches. Without costing you, the end user, a bunch of money anytime that you mess up a little bit. I think it's worth it in the end.
Well, and another point to follow along that line too is look how much experimentation we did with the plate.
Yeah.
You know, that's the plate that the engines mount to. We did quite a bit of experimenting with the CNC process, and after some pretty thorough testing, we found that the bigger engines would crack the initial plates that we put in there. The smaller engines like the 90, the 80 by Viterazzi, the 125, no problem. But with the bigger engines like the Black Bull, the 190, the Viterazzi Monster, or the Titan 210, those did have a tendency to crack the plate or dent the plate. Or distort the plate, I guess would be the better way to put it. So we went to a thicker CNC plate that did add a little bit of weight, but we added isolator mounts between the engine plate and the main frame of the V3 cage. The IMS, isolated mounting system. And what a difference that made. For those of you that don't know or have not seen the Kestrel V3, basically you have your rubber engine mounts, and then we have our CNC plate that the engine mounts to. It fits every engine out there, by the way. And the plate is slotted, which means we're able to slide the engine to the left or to the right, depending on your weight, to negate the torque. And it's amazing. Lighter guys need to move farther. Bigger guys don't need to move as far. So that's kind of strange, but that's what we found. But the isolated mounting system is really cool. what we've done is we've taken that plate and we've mounted it on rubber. So the motor has rubber mounts to the plate. Then the plate has rubber mounts to the frame. The vibration that you feel
is pretty much nothing.
Yeah, it's negated.
Yeah.
It really made a difference, and I think that was a great innovation by our shop.
Yep. No, they did a great job.
Yeah, we didn't think of that. The shop did. That's pretty cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, a lot of frames these days are made out of titanium. We are in the works on a titanium Kestrel frame. We have had other titanium frames, but we'll be very clear on this. These titanium frames cost more money, and they're not as strong as the Kestrel V3. They're not as rigid, and they can crack upon impact.
Yeah.
Whereas the Kestrel V3 is very flexible, very malleable, so to speak. The titanium is lighter, but only by about 1.5 pounds.
Yeah.
It's not that much.
Yeah.
But there's those people out there that are existing pilots that aren't going to be breaking props or worrying about flexing their cage, or if they do screw up, they realize they got to pay for it. That frame will be for them, and we'll be able to drop approximately a couple pounds overall on that, and it will also come with a lighter weight harness versus the comfort harness. So you can drop probably 4 pounds, 4.5 pounds off the weight of your Kestrel with that. But again, if you have skills, it doesn't matter. A couple extra pound doesn't matter.
No, it's the one thing everybody drives on the weight thing. Well, once you get the technique down and stuff, I mean, the thing's only on your back for a couple of minutes. The rest of the time you're out flying and sitting in it. For me personally, I'll take the extra couple of pounds. It's just my personal deal.
Let's be clear,
works.
That extra couple pounds doesn't make us the heaviest paramotor. We're not even close to that. The Kestrel is a very lightweight paramotor.
Yeah.
However, it was a balance between, is this strong enough for the everyday Joe?
Exactly.
So they can, if they have to, they can bend something back on it if they do bend something and they're still flying.
Yeah.
That's the key.
You're not going to get that with titanium.
No.
It's brittle, it likes, and when it breaks, it breaks. So, yeah, I just prefer, all of our frames are made out of 6061 T6 aluminum, which is same stuff you find on aircraft. It's very malleable, it's strong, lightweight, and it's forgiving. And forgiving's nice.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, so Mike, we've talked about frames.
Yep.
And by the way, we didn't mention the Rhino frame, which has been around for many years.
Forever.
And it's
still a good standby,
It is. I am surprised in how many we're still selling of the Rhinos, but on wheels.
Yeah.
On the trike, the light trike.
And foot launch. There's been some guys out there buying, they still want the old high hang point setup and J-bars and the frame. I mean, we're still selling them.
Yeah, they'll be here for a long time.
Yeah.
What we haven't touched on was engine selection.
Yeah.
And the thing I would add is that we really believe that less is more. If you're a 190-pound guy, 180-pound guy, and you're not at high elevation, the new Corsair Black B is an amazing engine with tons of power.
Yeah.
You do not need to go to a bigger engine.
Yeah.
I'm about 170 pounds. I fly the 125. I have no reason to go to a Talon or the Moster or the Titan for that matter.
Yeah.
But let's touch on the engines because we do sell every manufacturer.
Pretty much. Yeah, no, we sell Aero Corsair, Viterazzi, HE. It's one of the Swiss Auto. It's one of the things, we get bashed quite a bit online about our product, but yet all of us, and you guys can do your homework, go look at the engines on everybody else's product. You're going to find they're all the same. So, I have to laugh at it. I'm like, well, okay, everybody bashes this engine and that engine. Well, pretty much those are the engines that are out there, folks, and everybody's using them. So,
we do have an advantage here because since we sell all the engines, we know which ones require more service,
Yeah.
which ones have more issues, and
Yeah.
which ones do not.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's one another thing too, Mike, is, we've done work with HE for years and years. And one nice thing about that relationship has always been, sure, we've had some problems, as very well publicized with the original Talons and everything, but, being able to work closely with the engine manufacturer, we were able to come up with, we're version 3. The version 3 is just dynamite.
Yeah, we have
And
a lot
then
of
now,
guys with a lot of hours on that engine.
and now the new Titan 210, which is, that thing has just been a pipe dream. Really nice motor.
Yeah.
Smooth, linear, all that. I think the point I'm trying to get at is whenever we do end up with an engine issue and stuff, it might take us a little bit of time to get through it. None of this happens overnight. We're not Ford, Chevy, Honda. There's not a million of these things sold a year, so you have to look at the market. But the beauty of it is that we can make those changes, which is hard to do with some of the other engine manufacturers.
Yeah, almost impossible.
Yeah.
HE has been very good with their warranty-related stuff as well.
Yeah, and so like I said, sometimes it takes a bit of time, but we get it done.
Yeah.
That's
But
the thing.
it's not necessarily all about the manufacturers. We do sell all the engines, and
Yep.
and we've been very happy with the Corsairs as well.
Oh God, yeah.
So I can't complain. And the service of all of the companies
Yeah.
has been great.
Has been good.
But
Yep.
engine selection, what are your thoughts on that?
I like economy. I've never flown anything, I've flown bigger motors, but my old standby is always a 125. I can burn a gallon an hour and go a lot of places with it.
Or put less fuel in it
And-
just for short flights.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of guys that are going to flying a Band-Aid for a wing. And of course, if you go to the Band-Aid size wings, you have to have a bunch of power to keep it going. It all depends on what your goal is in the end, is where you want to be at, don't you think?
Yeah, I would agree.
this-
We're all not into flying Band-Aids.
No.
A couple of our instructors fly Band-Aids.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, it is about efficiency. It's
Yeah.
about going somewhere. And to a beginning intermediate pilot, across country can be 10 miles. 10
Yeah.
miles is a long ways.
Yeah.
And it's great seeing them come back from that flight and they're
Big smile.
Yeah, big smile on their face, and the economy is important.
Yeah. No, I'll take time in the air over, burning up a whole bunch of gas real quick.
Yeah. And the old American analogy is bigger is better.
Yeah.
It's not really true in this case. A bigger motor, for those of you that don't know, will give you a higher rate of climb.
Yeah.
It will not make you go faster unless you're flying such a small glider that it takes that much power just to keep that glider aloft. But please forget about that part of it. Okay? A bigger motor gives you a higher rate of climb. We're typically flying between 4 feet, 5 feet off the ground, and 250 feet high. If he's flying a Titan 210 and I'm flying a 125, so what if you get to 250 feet 3 or 4 seconds quicker than me? I'm going to go from here to that mountain in the distance and back, and then, of course, take his phone call that he needs a pickup somewhere.
Yeah, I'll be landing to get gas.
Anyway, bigger motors, more torque
Yeah.
when on the ground, noisier,
Yeah.
a little bit more vibration as well. So,
Yeah, and fuel stuff, I don't know. I just like efficiency, and for me, that's good.
torque, we talked about torque earlier with our frame, when our frames are all slotted. To elaborate just a little bit more on that as well, our swing arms, the straps that go to the carabiners are directly above the swing arms. So you're pulling evenly on those swing arms. Some of these manufacturers are putting these tabs or brackets off the sides of the swing arm, and that's making the swing arm torque.
Yeah.
Okay? We don't like that. You don't want to put any torque on the point of the swing arm, its pivot point, so to speak. But what's neat about our swing arms, too, is we have all these new spacers.
Yeah.
So if you've got a bigger guy, he can go 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch spacers to open this up.
Yeah.
A lot of the foreign machines are very narrow, and they're not fitting Americans.
Yeah.
We have a medium harness, a large harness, an XL, XXL harness. So how many big guys are we getting in the air these days?
A lot.
A lot. So you're able to move these swing arms out. If you want to balance your torque further, you can always go with one size spacer on one side and another size spacer on the other side. So we've really given you a lot of versatility with adjustments regarding torque, comfort. We have the lumbar adjustments on the harness now. That's makes a difference.
Makes a huge difference.
Yeah. So BlackHawk is always trying to innovate, and honestly, we've taken a lot of our customers' emails or phone calls and implemented.
I get people that call me. I mean, recently, we developed our own manual because we've been, it's been a shortcoming of ours, but we sat back and developed
56 pages long.
And still going. still getting ready to add more, but people called in immediately with a few questions and pointing out some things that weren't there or something that wasn't worded right, and we get right on it and make the changes. I'm not proud. I'll take suggestions from everybody.
What was cool is that they actually went through the whole damn manual.
Yeah. Went through and read it and everything, and that manual is going to be something that just constantly evolves, and it's not something that is just, you can take that manual and the basics of it and apply it to pretty much any light two-stroke out there. We took a lot of time in it. We tried to make it in such a way that everybody could understand it.
Yeah, and that doesn't work just for the HE engines. That is for all the two-stroke engines out there because they are all very similar.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Pretty similar.
Brandon Lenhart, by the way, made a suggestion on our throttle strap, and I made the change that day.
Yeah.
Started working on that.
Yep.
So we're not prideful.
No, we're not. We definitely take feedback and criticism from anyone, and if it's valid, we work at it. So.
One thing I was just thinking of, and we'll bring this to a close because I'm sure everybody's getting
bored
listening to us.
Yeah.
But the exhaust.
Yeah.
There's been some issues with exhaust out there.
Yeah.
And we are very happy with Corsair's exhaust.
Yeah.
It's very unique. It works.
Yep.
And HE's two-piece exhaust has worked very, very well.
Yeah.
They are more expensive to produce.
Yep.
But having a two-piece pipe or a pipe such as the flex joint that Corsair has does make a difference. It does keep you in the sky.
Yeah.
And we don't have any warranty issues or frustration issues.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
That's important.
Yep. The one thing on too is, you gain a touch of weight with doing that, but again, it goes back to the reliability part of it. What do you want, reliable or?
And it costs.
It costs a bit more too.
Yeah.
But it's just that you want the reliability and carry an extra little bit of weight, or you want to go ahead and wing it and to save however much.
One thing that we do need to touch on is price and our commitment to the customer, our commitment to getting anybody in the air.
Yeah.
We do carry everybody's engines, as you mentioned.
Yep.
And the only difference is some engines are a little bit more, some are a little bit less. It doesn't mean that the more expensive engine is better, because perhaps it's not.
Yeah.
But price is a big deal. I am still flabbergasted as to why some of this equipment is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000 more than what BlackHawk offers.
Yeah.
Our stuff is not made in China, for instance.
No.
Our gliders are made in Korea.
Along with a lot of other brands made in Korea.
Right, and many brands are made in China.
Yeah.
And made in Vietnam.
Yep.
Cambodia now.
Sri Lanka.
Correct.
Is another one that's come out. So
everybody's getting their products from
somewhere,
places around the world.
Yep.
But as I mentioned, I'm still flabbergasted as to why there's such a big price difference.
Yeah, well, if you take one of our packages and look at that and then compare it to going out and getting a different setup where you're buying a glider and the motor separately and stuff, just the price difference in there paid for your training.
That's a good point.
It's just another way to look at it when you figure it out. You know, what's this all up going to cost me to get into it? Stuff. If you can get into a good glider that's going to get you through the beginning phases and stuff, and even beyond that, and just, you know, depends on if you want to move into the reflex or Band-Aid category or whatever your goals are in the end. But having a good base as a beginner glider is extremely important. So you can go out and buy a beginner glider from all kinds of different companies. You're going to end up with the same.
Our sport is evolving, and I've been really surprised how far the gliders have come.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I for a while there, I thought, what more could we possibly do?
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another day. But
Yeah.
our sport is evolving. Our commitment, BlackHawk's commitment, is to quality and the customer.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you watching. If you have any comments, whether they're negative, positive, it doesn't matter. Please let us know what your thoughts are. And if you have any suggestions for any further videos, we're all ears.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah. Have a good one.